My name is Elsat. I'm the product contributor or product janitor for Damos. I also try and contribute in a few other ways on Nostr, Nostrability being one of them, where I'll talk about Nostrability a little bit more today. Okay, so brief introduction. What's Nostr? Beautiful art here by our Japanese Nostrich Awayuki. Essentially, you have a couple of key components. You have apps, Nostr apps, clients. Every single person that's running a client has their own key pair. Same principle as Bitcoin public, private key pair. Cryptography, how the clients and Nostr apps work is they essentially send information to relays. Relays blast off information to other apps, other clients, and vice versa. You also receive a bunch of information from relays. Relays are just a simple type of server. That's it. The unique thing here, of course, is that on Nostr, unlike on the corporate internet of Google, Twitter, Facebook, of course, you can bring your keys with you wherever you go. You can bring your social list, your friends with you wherever you go. So that's really the uniqueness, and it's a unique challenge and opportunity of Nostr. So what does that lead to? We're going to have many apps that are interacting where previously this was not possible before. So we might call this interoperability. So I shortened it down to Nostrability. So Nostrability is a very simple concept. You have at least two Nostr apps interacting, and we're just looking at the interaction between these two apps or the lack of interaction. That's a simple concept. In meme form, you have a used car salesman who's like, hey, this car gets excellent gas mileage, but the brakes and the steering don't work. That's Nostrability. That's Corn DeLorean, probably my favorite meme account. So if you guys want, you can follow Corn DeLorean, zap him. There's many things that don't work if you use more than one Nostr client. So we're building off of the work of many other developers, and also I would dare say philosopher, Pablo the Philosopher. He has a great talk at Nostrasia, how Nostr wins, and conversely, how Nostr does not win. To summarize his talk in 15 seconds, how Nostr does not win is we cannot out-Twitter Twitter, meaning that if we try to do what Twitter is doing, we cannot beat them at their own game. In tech, you have this heuristic where if you're building an app, being 10% better, 20% better is not good enough. If you have some of network effects like Twitter, you have to be at least 1,000% better. You have to be 10 times better. So we're not going to beat Twitter by being Twitter. So we need to focus on Nostr strengths. And again, that's going back to all that potential for all these apps interacting together. And if it works, that's how we win. If it's a broken experience, then we're not going to win. So a great talk. Highly encourage you guys. Check it out. Of course, the "Are we winning, son?" meme. In another meme form, and another way to say it is Nostrability is essentially how all the apps play together. Do the apps play nicely together or not? So say that you have interaction between a couple apps. For example, we had a question earlier from the audience. Hey, I generated my keys on Damos and I pasted them into another client, Primal, but maybe this broke my follows list or relays list. That's an example of a little friction there that's introduced by this interaction of multiple clients. So a question might come up, well, why doesn't just developer X handle it on its own? And I love JV55, creator of Damos, but he basically says, I don't have time to fix all these other clients. They should fix it on their own. Reason one. Reason two is if you have all these interactions and they are essentially being fixed piecemeal in an isolated fashion, you're going to have all this knowledge that's not accessible. Conversely, if you have one central repository for documenting all the interactions between Nostr apps, you're going to build up this library of valuable knowledge. If something happens tomorrow, right, where Nostr explodes, all the new developers like Terry and Brian are going to want to come in and read about it. They're going to want to read the spec. They're going to want to talk to the developers. They're also going to want to see the best practices and what happens when things don't go right. What happens when things go right? So that's the library of Nostrability of Nostr. So how big is Nostr today? a quick search on GitHub yields just under 1,000 Nostr tagged GitHub repos. Let's say that only 100 of them have real customers. If you just run the math, that's just under 5,000 different combinations, essentially of different apps interacting together. 100% these have not been tested. So that's what that gives you an idea today how big Nostrability is. If Nostrability grows tomorrow, this becomes a very, very big problem. And dare I say, maybe this happened in the early days of the internet, but this is maybe rediscovering all the exciting potential and all the challenges that come with many apps interacting together. So how can we think about it? Any sales and marketing people in the room here? I think Santos is one. Santos looks like a sales guy to me. There we go. Essentially, you have a funnel, right? You have, okay, here's all these people who maybe might want to go to BitBlock Boom, all the Bitcoiners on Twitter, all the Bitcoiners on Nostr. Some of them might be somehow qualified, and finally, the ones at the bottom will make a sale. Naturally, you're going to have more people at the top, less people at the bottom. That's essentially the problem of drop-off or friction in engineering terms. If we look at the same principle at Nostr, you have Nostr apps A, B, C, and so on. In product terms, one of the things that product managers and business managers or whoever is responsible for essentially the outcomes or results of an app is you have the concept of retention. You have a user who downloads your app day one. At the end of the day, are they still on the app or not? Day 7, day 30, that's the concept of user retention, or conversely, user drop-off. So that's confined to one app. However, if you have multiple apps along the way, going back to how Nostr wins by essentially coming up with this new amazing experience that Twitter is never going to be able to deliver by being a corporate moat. If you have, say, 3 apps, then you're faced with 3 pieces of retention on the app level. Nostr app A has a retention, maybe Damos, Primal, maybe Wikipedia. But then you also have the components, right? That's the interface between going from Nostr app A to Nostr app B. Maybe that's a technical thing. Maybe it's a user interface thing. But we know that it's not going to be perfect experience, at least not on day one. So we expect some drop off. So if you have 5 hops, the retention level is significantly down compared to if you had just 1 hop. It's just assuming that for every single activity that's done, you have 90% retention. If you have 80% retention or 20% drop off, then the numbers essentially winnow down very, very quickly. So effectively, Nostrability is that hop between apps. The nature of Nostr today is that most projects are essentially the fruit of sweat, blood, and tears of a single dev. Some projects like Damos might have funding from great organizations like OpenSat. Primal is VC funded. However, most Nostr projects are very, very resource constrained. So it makes sense that the devs are focusing on the developments and essentially fixing all the bugs, improving the performance of their app, and they may not have the resources to look at essentially the interaction between all these other apps. So Nostrability, you can think about it as the hop between apps on Nostr. There's a saying in Nostr, embrace the chaos. We have specifications called NIPs. I always forget what it means, but something along the lines of Nostr implementation possibilities. One NIP might have 10 different implementations in the wild. So we essentially figure out everything in production, where how all the devs things work or don't work. So that's a room size there. Embrace the chaos. Nostrability is a way essentially to document all of the broken things that happen. So here we have a GitHub repo of a few example things that have gone wrong. I can't see a note. It could be that this client wipes the contact list created by Damos. I can't unmute the list created by this other client. So this is essentially a manual effort of documenting today what's broken. And I'm not a dev. I'm just a left curve product contributor for Damos. However, what I learned is that if you create these issues, tag devs from multiple apps and clients, they have been very open and responsive to tackling these issues. Whereas if these bugs are created in the devs GitHub repository, they're perhaps less likely to get attention since there's maybe thousands of other bugs that are higher priority to them. So the visibility among peer devs helps tackle these friction points. In my view, that's what I think drives it anyway. So if you guys have a broken interaction between two more apps, feel free to tag it Nostrability anywhere on Nostr. Feel free to tag me, and I'll be sure to make sure the devs who are responsible for the app fix their stuff. Okay, so that's a very manual effort. Clearly, we have a lot of bright devs here in the audience. Shout out to Brian and Terry once again. Nostr SDK. Definitely tune into that talk later. Today, it's a manual effort. So if we ask the smart devs, how do we fix this? We might get to the realization that, okay, well, maybe there's a little program that we can write that perhaps monitors the various interactions between Nostr apps A, B, C, and so on. So in the engineering world, as far as I understand, continuous integration is one discipline. Usually this is limited to the deployment of upgrades and new versions of one single app. However, in Nostr, again, we have this thing where you have tens or hundreds or thousands of apps interacting. So this is, I think it's a novel territory. Essentially, you want something to continuously monitor, test, score, and report on how well things are working together or not. For example, is app B breaking the contact list of app A? Does perhaps app C have trouble interacting with the relay, maybe in a non-performant manner? To the end user, if something is slow or broken, they don't really care if it's a technical thing, if it's a user interface thing. So from that perspective, we can come up with a few different rubrics to just make sure basic things are not broken. So this is what I call Nostr CI. I asked a few of the smart devs in the room, including the creator of Nostr, Puram Manya, Fia Jaff. So this feels like a task bigger than any human, and that's sort of been the consensus among devs. So, if you want to be comfortable, if you're a DevOps engineer, CI engineer, definitely Nostr CI is not for you. However, if you like growing through pain and ordeal, perhaps you want to put the world of Nostr on your shoulders. So maybe that's you. I see Avi in the audience. Maybe Avi there is a developer in his free time. I don't know. But if not, if you're a CI developer, if you're a DevOps engineer, reach out to me. And I think we could do some cool things that and maybe solve a challenge that is unique and maybe not existed, at least to my knowledge. So that's Nostr CI. Cool. So that's Nostrability, Nostr continuous integration, Nostr CI in a nutshell. Now I figured we get to a little bit more fun stuff where maybe the audience can play along. I was going to do a quick overview of all the other stuff apps. So again, other stuff apps is, I think, the way we beat Twitter, right? We're going to build these cool experiences that are not possible elsewhere. So I'll do a little introduction to a few apps, and maybe we can all tag along in one little example. So I think one of the first examples of other stuff is you have Will here, glorious Damus a developer, and then you have Kieran essentially created a way to integrate Lightning in the Nostr network. So we're not talking about social media microblogging clients today. However, this particular feature essentially allowing people to easily receive and send Lightning payments, Bitcoin payments over the Nostr network as a coordination layer. This single essentially, I guess, other stuff invention, if you will, benefits every single other app on Nostr, whether it's a social media client or it's another stuff client. I think it's a great first example of other stuff. If you guys want to support Will and Kieran, they each have a paid app, Damus Purple subscription on the left, and then you have Snort, the web client on the right. So again, what's a Zap? Great little illustration from Oyuki. Again, essentially you have a way to send and receive and pay invoices. You're able to communicate if you send Bitcoin, if you receive Bitcoin, maybe you're able to check your wallet balance, maybe you're able to receive a notification. So I think there's going to be a talk about this later today. Essentially, we have now, we've gotten it to a stage where the specification Nostr Wallet Connect has quite a few examples. We have a little dev community around it. So this is one way to power all the other stuff with apps. Okay, so whenever you get into the world of other stuff, you have essentially a need for key management tools. So Alby is one of the more popular ones. You can get Alby in your browser extension, Firefox or Chrome, I believe. So this is referred to as NIP07. I think recently they added an invite code, so we're not going to wait for them today. NSEC Bunker is another extension of key management. This is a little bit more advanced for engineers to deploy their own key management solution. Okay, ZapStore. So what's ZapStore? The other stuff. Essentially, imagine your Apple App Store. You have a bunch of apps on there, as opposed to just trusting Tim Apple to say, okay, this is the right version of Twitter or Damus or Sparrow Wallet. Download it. Don't worry about it. Instead, you can see maybe that maybe Avi, Brian, and Terry downloaded the Waze app for driving. So maybe if your friends are using this particular app, you have a little bit more confidence that this is the appropriate app. Maybe Terry and Brian, as developers, also ran the engineering verification that this is indeed the right executable to run on your phone. So this is one little project that I'm excited about. Hasn't come out yet, but I think it might be very, very exciting. So this is the audience participation part. Who here has used Wikipedia with a P? There you go. Jimmy Wales creation, I think that's his name. So Nasser, now we have Wikipedia. What's the difference? Well, if I go to, say, the entry for central banking on Wikipedia, I think there's only one truth there, right? That's the, I think this is the right word to use, canonical version of central banking, according to Wikipedia, of course. And if one of the Nasser or Bitcoin people try to go there, perhaps edit and add, hey, maybe perhaps Bitcoin is an alternative, you might get rejected by whoever manages that page. So what does Wikipedia allow us to do? You're able to go to the Bitcoiner relay. You're able to go to the Nostr relay and essentially read another version, right? There is no one truth. It depends on who you ask. So this is the whole concept of Wikipedia. So if you guys would like, I encourage you to go to Wikipedia on your phone, or if you have your computer. One caveat, you will have to go to your settings on your mobile browser, whether it's Safari, Brave, whatever, and disable pop-ups so that you're able to create a Nostr key pair. So once you do that, once you create a Nostr key pair, you can try creating an entry. So maybe we can create an entry for, let's say, bit block boom, and see what happens there. And let me see if I can pull it up on my computer as well. Okay, let's see. Sign in. This is the live demo part. I'm sure something's going to go wrong. Am I in the right browser? That's a good question. As Terry and Brian might say, this is what dry runs are for. Okay, cool. So earlier I mentioned Alby. So here I have my Alby extension installed. And let's see here. Let's search for BitBlock Boom. BitBlock Boom. Okay, it doesn't exist. So let's delete that and see if I can create a new entry. BitBlock Boom. Give the permissions. Okay, you can create this event. So BitBlock Boom is a Bitcoin Nostr conference. Exclamation mark. Cool. I'm gonna choose a category. This is a knowledge. It's a knowledge article. A lot of knowledge here. Save. Right to Wikipedia. Okay, so now we have one entry in there. And then has anyone been able to create keys by any chance on Wikipedia? You guys should be able to go find this entry and essentially hit the edit button, if I'm not mistaken. And I can also try to do the same in my separate browser here. So, okay, so here's Pablo's NSEG bunker. I don't have an account. Let's connect one. So I'm going to call it Pablo Legend. Pablo Legend. That's highlighter. See if this create account works. It would be great if it works. Yes, pop-up is good. Password, very secure. Do not see my password. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Cool. So I just created a new account, Pablo Legends, and here we go. I see the BitBlockBoom relay. I'm going to enter this entry here, and I'm going to hit edit. So let's say that I agree with this first line of knowledge, if you will. What else should we say about BitBlockBoom? Let's see here. It has Nostr. Oh, it is in Teclis, yeah. Let's see, the boom part leads us to deduct, come and take it. Texas. Okay, cool. So let's see what happens here. I'm going to hit the save button. And it looks like I've forked in the concept of coding. Whenever you have a repository of code, a new developer might come in, especially in open source, fork the original code, add a contribution. So that's what we've done here. Essentially, we have two different entries of the same term. So if you go back to our original BitBlockBoom creation, so let's go here, BitBlockBoom. Now we see there's two entries. So that's the second entry that we created over there. We're going to go back and we're going to request merge. So when we hit request merge, what we're doing is we're saying, okay, original author, consider my change, and if you like it, go ahead and approve it. So I'm going to do that. Let's see, what does it say here? Optionally, provide a message to the author of the original entry on what was changed. Texas. There we go. Okay. So we're going to go back to the original keys here. Let's see. I think if I go to my own profile, it should come up. BitBlockBoom for your consideration. Pablo Legends. And here we go. Here we have your version. BitBlockBoom is a Bitcoin Nostr conference, and then we have Pablo Legends version, the same line. In addition, we have the boom leads us to deduct, come and take it, Texas. So I'm going to go ahead and approve this. And let's see what else I have to click here. I want to keep it under knowledge and save and see if that works. I'm going to give write permission. One more write permission. Cool. So it says now this request was accepted. View the accepted version. So the original entry you would just modify to add another line of code, and this is again this is the contributions of two different people. So this is just an example of again what we're able to do with again the concept of so Nostr, you have the key pairs. With future versions of Wikipedia, I'm sure that we're going to be able to see Web of Trust. So which of my friends maybe edited a particular entry, or perhaps there might be some commentary on the sides. Oh, Terry left the comments about BitBlockBoom on the side. Maybe I'm able to see this this highlight. So this is again something that was not. It's never going to be possible in Wikipedia. You're never going to be able to provide your version of what do you think is accurate, especially on controversial topics like central banking. Any questions on Wikipedia? Yes, sir. I don't know if there's a microphone. Do you want to come up? Yeah. So why can't you sign in with your MPub on Wikipedia? Really, if the Wikipedia guys wanted to, they could implement Nostr. Uh, oh, okay. I see. I got you. Yeah. Got you. Yeah, I think you should be able to sign in. I didn't run that in the dry run yesterday. So I think with something like Alby, which is the little extension, if you have your key pair stored to Alby, Wikipedia should recognize that you have that NIP07 extension, and then it'll ask you, do you want to log in with your keys or not? So the flow which I suggested you guys run through, which was just create a new key pair. That was just assuming that no one wanted to use their key pair here. But yeah, I think you should be able to do it. If it doesn't exist today, I'll definitely give Pablo that feedback to have that. Any other questions? Wikipedia. Cool. Yeah. So that's a little example there of other stuff. Fun little example. So let's see what else I have here. Back to menu, full screen. Can we full screen this? Yes. Perfect. Yeah, so that's Wikipedia. Other little example, I'm not going to click through it, but one little cool thing that came out of Sovereign Engineering in Madeira, we have Khazard149, who's the developer of Nostrudel clients, great little client to tinker with. He also came up with essentially a way to emulate something like Google Drive or Proton Drive over Nostr. So what does that mean? Nostr really doesn't allow for storage of files. It's just for sending and receiving these blobs of information. That's it. However, what you can do, and this is I played around this the other day, a working prototype is that you can essentially point to a server. You can create a specific way to communicate, hey, I have this file. It's located on the server, and I'm going to blast that out to all the Nostr relays. So essentially, you have right now a way to have a public folder, if you will, on the internet and upload things. So imagine being able to take all of your files, say that you have a Google Drive account, all of your files in Google Drive, and maybe copy it to a few other drives, or perhaps migrate it. Maybe you don't like the idea of Google being able to rug pull you at one point in time, and that's the whole value prop here, is that you're the one in control of your keys, and if you enter an agreement with essentially I don't know if CDN is the right term here, but essentially someone able to store your files, their reputation is on the line if they rug pull you. Whereas if Google today decides that Bitcoin.pdf is not is not something that you should have on your Google Drive, they can just remove that from your drive. So Blossom, I think the counterparty service here is Satellite Earth. I think it's cdn.satellite.earth. Great service, and I think it's also very, very cheap for 5 cents per month, which is about 70 sats. You can store a gigabyte of data. So definitely check it out. These are two great projects, great developers. Highlighter, essentially it's OnlyFans minus the part where you have to lose your dignity. So if you're an independent content creator like Max DeMarco, great content, by the way. We need more communicators like Max in the space. Check out his stuff on YouTube. Now you can support him directly on Highlighter. YouTube might decide that they don't like Max. They don't like his funny looking face. They especially don't like that he talks about freedom technology in Bitcoin and Nostr. So here you can sign up for $5 per month. I don't think it has to be that amount. It can be any amount that you wish. You can also, of course, specify Satoshis. You can see the supporters of Pablo if they choose to review themselves. You have Pablo is a supporter of Maximilian, someone named Alice. Max can also, I think, come up with exclusive content. Max might be able to have a little gated conversation area for his supporters only. So Nostr, essentially, we're trying to take out the way the corporate from web, and Highlighter was one of the many great Pablo projects out there. Does anyone have a Highlighter account here? Maybe Avi? Very good. How do you like it? do you speak with your audience there, or how do you use it so far? You just tinkering with it? Cool. Yeah, early stages. Yeah, definitely check it out. And if you create content, definitely consider using Highlighter. Again, I won't go through the practical parts, but another cool part that has come out recently is we have this concept of essentially Fedi mints, which is essentially just a federated mint. It's a way to scale Bitcoin, whereas Wallet of Satoshi is a sole custodian, if you will, of your keys. They might receive pressure, as they have most likely received pressure to stop serving U.S. customers, for example. Fedimint is a way to essentially have more than one entity holding those keys. So imagine now that you're loading up Damus or your favorite Nostr app. Maybe that has a wallet component. So as opposed to the app developer being the sole custodian of your keys, it being a custodian wallet, maybe there's a little option here is like, okay, cool, you're using our wallets. Would you like to join a federation? So this is really cool. It's still very early days, but essentially imagine that you're able to, I think there's a sign in button somewhere. I don't know if I captured it on my on the screenshot. Say you sign in, like the gentleman asked earlier, you can sign in with your keys and you can bring in your social graph with you. So then I can see, oh, Avi and Terry and Brian are using mint number 3. So I might not know who the guardian is. Of course, there's always a rug pull risk that my money is gone tomorrow, but maybe you can have a little bit more confidence that, okay, well, here's some social proof, and I know these my followers they're smart guys, so maybe I'll trust them to use this particular thing. So that's I think it's bitcoinmints.com. I think the QR code should be there. Cool. And Zapstream, you have the boomer podcasters, Marty and Odell. Shout out Odell, shout out Marty. Great guys. As opposed to being reliant right on YouTube, which has rugged them multiple times on topics that were, I guess, not suitable for YouTube. On Zapstream, I don't think it hosts the content itself. I think you probably have to self-host, or they self-host on a Bitcoin service like Bitcoin.tv. But the cool part is you have a stream, you have this interactive part, and of course you were going back to the Zaps created by Will and Kieran. Shout out to Will and Kieran. So that's it. You can essentially have this interactive way to connect with your audience. Consider it as a complement to Highlighter, right? The subscriber supporter site. I think you can see here there's zaps happening in real time. This person zaps X number of sats, this person zaps hats, and they wrote a little zap message. So as Marty and Odell are having their conversation, you can also include a zap message, a zap comment. So other stuff. So this is how we beat Twitter. Twitter is never going to do this. Shopster Store is again a marketplace example. I think a couple of devs, Calva Dev, one more guy are running it, and again you have what if, right? What if you're able to sign in and with your Web of Trust, and you can see that maybe Terry bought an egg-laying chicken before from this vendor. So as opposed to having to trust reviews, I mean, reviews are great. Maybe you can have a little bit of, maybe you can ask Terry questions like, hey Terry, is that chicken laying eggs? So this is the whole concept. What if you combine Nostr with a marketplace? So this is early days. Experimentation is very exciting. Again, other stuff that you won't see on Twitter. So that's it. I gave you guys an intro to Nostrability. How do Nostr apps play together? Nostr CI. How might we automate essentially the evaluation, testing, reporting of the interaction between different apps? And we gave you guys a little bit of intro to all the awesome and exciting developments going on with other stuff. If you use any of these apps, Will, Damus, you have Million and Primal, Pablo on half of the apps that I listed here. Definitely tinker with them. The devs love feedback. If you're getting value out of them, subscribe. Really, to me, the only signal in terms of if these are just hobby projects or something real is you parting with your hard-earned sats. If you give the sats to devs, then they know that perhaps they're on the right track. That's me there. If you want to tag me on Nostr about all the broken stuff with hashtag Nostrability, feel free to do that. And if you guys have feedback for really any Nostr clients, if you have feedback for Damus, if you want to chat Nostr, feel free to find me at any time during the conference. Thank you. Yeah, we can do Q&A. Any questions about anything Nostr related? I can talk about other stuff too, but if you guys have Nostr questions. Yeah, Brad, you want to use the mic?
On Wikipedia, is the first person that creates the entry always going to be the owner? Because it seemed like the next person that wanted to contribute to that entry had to submit it through that opening poster.
Yeah, great question. So the question was, again, if on Wikipedia, if there's already an existing entry, is the first person always going to be in control of the content of that particular entry? And I think specific to that person's entry, the answer is yes. However, the whole idea is that if anyone here can create an entry about BitBlock Boom or chickens or any other topic, then I think it kind of loses significance that the first person created that entry first. Right now, there's no web of trust, so you don't see maybe who of your social follows agrees with what version or maybe attracted with what version. Also, you don't have zaps as well. I think with time, you might be able to see some sort of ranking, some sort of signal other than chronological as to what might be the highest signal entry out there. And chances are that if anyone can make an entry, it's not going to be the first one. So if the first guy disappears, never responds again, then something else will become essentially the higher signal entry. If the first guy is probably a good, if they're a good faith actor and if they agree with the stuff being edited, they will prove it. If they don't agree with it, they will reject it. So that's great. There's competition now. Whereas in Wikipedia, there's only one truth. And yeah, I guess we all know how we feel about CNN, NBC, etc. Any other questions? Wikipedia, Shopster? Yes, sir. You want to?
I like understand his birth, but his
Great question. Yes. So the question was, does Wikipedia have a client? As far as I'm aware today, it's only essentially a web app. You have to go through a browser. More comfortable on a computer. You can do it on the phone, as some of you guys did. Second question is, if I'm on Damus, if I'm on Primal, or your one of the more popular microblogging clients, do I see the entry? Today, as far as I'm aware, definitely not on Damus. So Pablo made it so that these Wikipedia entries have the specific, we call them kinds. So kind one is a note. That's what you see in Primal and Damus and Amethyst. That's essentially the microblogging type. Whereas I don't know the exact number, but Pablo, I'm sure, invented a new number for Wikipedia entries. So it could be that tomorrow, say that Wikipedia picks up pace, maybe Damus, maybe Primal, or maybe not. They decide to support. Hey, I also want to be able to see Wikipedia entries on my social media client. That's really it's technically possible. So from there, I think Damus and Primal are two very user experience centered clients. So if the user experience can be awesome, then I think Milian will consider it. Maybe there's some other clients out there that may just want to implement it for the sake of implementing it. And there's some of those clients as well, and those are great. Not to diminish their choices. So yeah, it's possible. But I think again, if we're going to beat Twitter at our own game, you have to come up with this amazing user experience. And I think that has to do with, as you alluded to, this interaction between multiple apps. It has to not only just work, it has to be amazing, and the drop off, the friction has to be minimal. That's how we beat Twitter. Any other questions? Yes, sir, Avi.
oh,
Yeah, great question from Avi. Avi is, of course, one of the leaders in the community, gets people together, has a show. So the question was, we have something awesome like Nostr Nests. It's not just an experiment. People use it regularly to have serious shows. People use it to goof around. And then we have Damus, we have Primo, we have arguably a couple of the apps, Nostr apps, where people that maybe bring in the most people, where people spend the most time. Damus does not have a Nostr Nest integration. I don't think Primo does either, if I'm not mistaken. So how do we reconcile the fact that we have this cool experience in Nostr Nests and maybe in Damus and Primo, and right now there's no bridge between them? As a contributor, right? That decision does not rest with me. It rests right with essentially the owners, the lead devs of each of those apps and clients. I think one thing that's great is that if tomorrow, say, Avi, maybe another app or client integrates Nostr Nests, and essentially people are like, oh, this is awesome. And you know what? Now I can stay in Nostr app C or whatever it is, Amethyst or another app. Maybe that keeps me in Amethyst longer, because not only am I able to shitpost and write a reply to my friends, also I can have a chat maybe while even driving. So I think what you do is you just have to make the case to the developers. There's thousands of things that we could be working on at the same time. The reality is we have limited resources, but if you lay out the case as best you can, say, hey, I think this will increase usage of your app. I think this will keep increase retention. People will stay around for more because there's more things to do than just scroll, say through short notes. I think that's how you do it. There needs to be a carrot, and at the same time you have the competitive aspect, right? So if Damus and Primal or any other clients are not doing what the Nostr customers want, then someone else will do it, and the other app is going to do well, I think, right? If Damus and Primal are not doing what people want, whereas the other app is. Personally, I would love to see Nostr Nests integrated if we can, and every single day I get excited about all these things we could do, and I have to reconcile that at the same time that we have just one dev and a half working on Damus right now to tackle not only iOS. Will was also working on Android as well. Will was spending most of his time on Android, so we have less than a full-time person working on iOS maintenance, and then we have essentially one person working on Android right now. Does that answer your question, Avi? Cool. Any other questions? Nests, Damus, Primal, other stuff? Are you on Android or iOS? It's Amethyst. It's Android. Amethyst's Android app for now. On iOS, we have Damus, we have Primal, Nostr, Nostur is another app. That's good. And then Terry and Brian later today, these gentlemen here, they're going to talk about the iOS ecosystem as well. They've been working on some pretty cool tooling to make it easier for devs to develop on iOS. Yeah. 100%. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and Nest really, I don't know what came first. I think Nest is built off of open source software. So probably Twitter used someone else's open source software to build their own Spaces feature. But I agree with you. And yeah, Nest is absolutely needed, I think. I think it'll be a great addition. It's looking better and better. I'm not a technical guy, so the technical scaling limitations, that's a whole other discussion by Will, Terry, Brian, and the devs. What I would say is that if you are a dev, PRs are welcome, pull requests are welcome, patches, contributions are welcome. We've had maybe at least 50 or so developers that have contributed to Damus over the last year. Of course, most of them just do one or two PRs, then they don't come back. But we do have regular, consistent contributors, and one of those guys has gone on to basically become hired by Damus to work on Damus a few days per week. So if there's a great user story feature request, if there's some pressing bug fix and you have the capabilities, or you know someone that has, definitely send them my way. I'll more than happily onboard them to contribute to Nostr Nest addition to Damus or whatever other features is interesting to them. I see Xprog. I think we're out of time. 5 minutes. Cool. Maybe, yes, sir.
the Shopster. I have no
Okay.
so will be an option. The steering brake work.
The question is, I have an online store, Shopster. Does the steerings and brakes of Shopster work? Frankly, I haven't used it. I haven't social bought anything there. I don't know. You're definitely a guinea pig if you choose that route. I encourage it. You should. Just try something small. I do know that you can list things to buy and sell right now. I think you should be able to see the public keeper of who's selling it to you. I don't think they have, I don't think Shopster today has Web of Trust, as in if you import your contacts list from Amethyst or whatever, from your social media clients, you're not going to be able to see who also knows that seller. It could be that chances are that no one knows them, and that's a risk that you're going to have to take. So specifically to that risk, if no one knows that person, maybe there's no reviews, and currently Shopster does not have an escrow type of system, right? Something to hold the seller a little bit accountable. If the seller rug pulls you, at least they'll part with some sats. That doesn't exist. I do know Calva mentioned that that's on the roadmap, so that they're working on adding that. So you have Shopster, then you also have what was the other one called? I think it was Plebeian Market. So I haven't compared each one in detail, but yeah, definitely play around with it, and just expect the rug pull. Like malicious or not, it's just early days. But I think it might be worthwhile experimenting. One of the cool things that happened on Damus soon thereafter, when Will introduced Zaps, there's a guy I think he's out of the U.S., maybe Colorado. What was his name? Justman. Is it Ben Justman? Anyway, this guy has like a winery. So this guy basically said, "Hey, I have a bottle of wine. Zap me." The first person to zap me 150,000 sats or whatever gets a bottle of wine. So within a couple of minutes, someone had zapped him. So people are already buying physical goods. Does anyone work for Apple here in the room? Oh, they might not admit it because we have some history with them. But one of the cool things with Apple is that well, I don't know, they can rug pull us at any point in time, of course. But supposedly, allegedly, we haven't tried it out yet. If we come up with a physical goods extension, say to Damus, there's no Apple tax. So one of the reasons why Damus doesn't have no zaps is like Apple called it, well, that's you're purchasing digital content, even though that's like absolutely false. So for that reason, those apps are not allowed in Damus. They are allowed in other Nostr apps, but that's a Tim Apple discussion for another time. However, physical goods at least advertises that Apple does not demand their tithe for that. So that might be, we have received that request a few times from vendors. What do you sell, by the way, if you don't mind me asking? Peruvian imported goods. Okay, cool. Yeah. So coffee, there's at least one or two vendors selling coffee today. I don't know what setup they used. I know they have websites, but some of them you might be able to just buy stuff through DMs and coordinating and just zapping directly. So people are doing it. Definitely experiment if you want to get sats. Yeah. Cool. Any other questions? Selling goods from another country? Nothing illegal, I hope. Cool. All right, guys. Yeah, I'm LSAT. Yeah, find me on Nostr. Find me here. Thank you very much.
Grandpa, why do you have so much Bitcoin?
Well, it all started in the year 2023 when I attended a conference called BitBlock Boom.
What's BitBlock Boom, Grandpa?
It was a conference where people talked about Bitcoin. This was way back when we used something called the US dollar for money.
What? Bitcoin wasn't always the world's money?
If it weren't for great speakers at BitBlock Boom like Jimmy Song, Adam Curry, and Preston Pish, we'd all be living in pods and eating bugs. Instead, I was able to avoid fiat enslavement and secure generational wealth.
F***ing legend.
Be the legend your grandchildren deserve. Experience the best Bitcoin conference out there and join the Bitcoin revolution. BitBlock Boom, the only conference for true Bitcoin maximalists. Book your tickets today at bitblockboom.com and use the code BBB1 for a special discount.